Pickett here with the Urban Harvest, and today I wanted to give you a few tips for Florida vegetable gardening on soil amendments that you can add to your beds in between seasons. Soil amendments should be the first line of defense when you're looking to fertilize your garden beds. Soil amendments are generally slow-release organic materials and additions for your garden or your vegetable garden that feed the soil, not just the plants. So that's the goal with organic vegetable gardening and sustainable vegetable gardening, is setting up a system where you're not constantly having to do inputs. These garden beds that I have in my front yard vegetable garden are new. They've only been through one season thus far, and they definitely still need some pick-me-up. They're still getting established and creating a healthy soil ecosystem. So as we shift from spring into summer vegetables, I'm going to add in some soil amendments. I have a video that I've already posted on filling these raised beds. I was lucky enough to have a ton of homemade compost, and I added some coconut coir to the mix to get these beds established. When I first filled these beds, they were filled to the very top of this bed. As you can see now, they have sunken at least 3, maybe 4 inches down as the compost further decomposed and the soil settled into place. So today I'm going to be using some different soil amendments and some more compost to raise the soil up again and to add in some fresh nutrition and soil biology to the garden beds. Doing this in between seasons allows us to completely clear the beds and really raise the level of the soil. So this definitely works best when you're going to be completely clearing out a bed and reseeding it. This one has had quite a few issues with lack of sun, so I had some powdery mildew issues in this bed. I do have a video on how to treat powdery mildew, but most of the plants just didn't thrive just from lack of sun in the winter, and still figuring that kind of thing out since it is a new location for me. So what I'm going to be doing is just completely clearing the bed and raising the soil level up several inches and then reseeding with my summer crops. You'll notice that I am doing a no-till method. So what I'm doing is cutting off these plants right at the soil line. It allows the roots to decompose in place and keeps that soil ecosystem that I'm trying to build up intact. It's definitely a no-till gardening approach that works really, really well for organic and sustainable gardens. One of the soil amendments that I'm going to be adding to the beds today is kelp meal. You can just go harvest seaweed from the beaches, but right now can't exactly access the beaches as easily as normal, so I'm going to be doing kelp meal. One of the amazing things about kelp meal is that it actually has plant growth hormones. So there's been research that shows that your plants will grow bigger, stronger, and faster with the addition of kelp, which is seaweed, because of that growth hormone. It's also really, really good at adding all of the micronutrients and minerals that are often lacking in our soil today. Crab meal is a great soil amendment and one that is not as often used, but really should be used more frequently, especially here in Florida. Crab meal is basically the shell of crabs that have been crushed up. It's a byproduct of the crab industry, which is great because it's a sustainable resource. And what happens is, yes, it does have NPK, so your nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. It does have some nitrogen as well as some potassium, which is great. But the thing that I'm really looking for with the crab meal is the chitin in it. And they've done research and shown that chitin is a nematode deterrent. And we have a lot of nematode issues here in Florida, so this is a great one. It also helps to aerate the soil and just bring a lot of soil biology into your beds. Worm castings are my absolute #1 go-to soil amendment for organic and sustainable vegetable gardening by a long shot. They have a wonderful balance of NPK, so they give you those essential plant nutrients. They also give you soil biology, which is absolutely critical when you're establishing an organic garden. we're trying to build soil. So the worm castings have the good gut buddies that the earthworms have in their systems, and it's excreted with their poo, which is what worm castings are. So all of that bacteria and good microbial life that's in the worm castings is then put into your soil.
That's not bad for you.
So
That's
especially, thank you, Pumpkin, thank you. I got both of them, yes.
Yeah, you need them down and down.
Perfect. So it's kind of like a jump start, especially if your beds are new and you're just starting to establish that microbial life that we want to create in your garden beds. The worm castings are a wonderful way to jumpstart and kickstart all of that bacteria and living soil into your beds. So huge bonus there. The best soil amendment that you could possibly add to your garden is homemade compost. That really good quality stuff that turns into rich humusy soil. I have several videos on composting basics, so if you're interested in checking those out, just click the link above. We have been sifting this compost just a little bit to get out some of the larger sticks and mulch that haven't yet decomposed, and I'm going to be adding this as the bulk of my soil amendments when I go to raise the bed. So this will be filling in most of the top few inches that I'll be adding into the soil today. So I've got this bed all cleared out. You will notice that I left the tomato. Tomatoes are an interesting little fact about them. I do have a video more in depth on this as well, but tomatoes can actually root up the length of their entire stem. And this bed is getting more sunlight than it was, so I'm gonna leave it in and just see how it does as far as production and everything. So I did leave that in the bed, and I'm just going to raise the soil line around it. First, I'm going to be sprinkling in some of my finer soil amendments, and then on top of that, I'll put a nice thick layer of compost. I'm adding in these soil amendments underneath the compost just so that's closer to the root zone and where the plants are ultimately going to be growing. Worm castings can be expensive, but they're worth every penny, and a little bit goes a long way. So you don't have to be putting inches of this stuff per bed. Just sprinkling it on top is more than enough to get the job done. So I'm going to do a nice thick layer of compost here because I have large quantities of homemade compost. If you do not have compost available to you, this would be where any sort of other soil amendment comes in, or just generic bagged soil. If your bed's really sunk down like mine and they need a significant amount, always remember to look into bulk soil. I do have a video that talks about the thresholds and when you might choose to use bulk soil versus bagged soil. And all of those are still getting delivered right now. So it might be something worth looking into, especially if you're just getting your garden beds started. The soil amendments that I added to the bed probably cost me less than $10 once it's broken down for the amount used for just this bed. So a little bit goes a really long way, and it probably took me 10, maybe 15 minutes worth of time to get this bed fixed up for summer. It is well worth the efforts. If you found this video helpful or had any questions about the soil amendments I discussed or anything else like that, make sure to head on down to the comments and leave me a note. And if you're interested in sourcing any of these products, I do have Amazon links in these show notes that take you directly to all of these products. By clicking through those links, you do help support all of the work that I do here on this channel, and it is greatly appreciated. I hope this was a good video for you all and found it helpful for a mid-season pick-me-up as we transition into our summer gardens. And you all have a beautiful day. Happy gardening. Thank you. You're gonna pull some too?
This one is dirty.
Yeah.